Welcome to Workplace Wake Up, your go-to podcast for practical employment law guidance. I'm Jennifer Shaw, the founder of Shaw Law Group, and I'm here to help HR professionals and leaders navigate the legal minefield of the modern workplace. Each week, we tackle real-world issues with clear advice and a little tough love. Let's get started. It is beautiful here in Sacramento today, a little overcast, but nice. And I hope wherever you are, you're having great weather and having a good day so far. So we're going to do a little discussion today of SB 294. SB, remember, stands for Senate bill. The next several webinars, actually, we're going to talk about the new legislation. By the end of this month, we will have covered a lot of new statutory developments for 2026. So SB 294 is effective on January 1, 2026, and it does require us to issue a new notice, which, of course, new year, new notice, right? We have new things we have to do. There is actually a requirement now that we issue a standalone notice of certain rights to each new employee when they're hired and annually to all current employees. The new law also, thankfully, requires that the DLSE, the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement, that's our labor commissioner here in Sacramento that covers California, they are going to be developing and distributing that notice. It'll be a template, and also they're saying some educational materials for California employees and employers. Now, when are they going to do that? I don't know. We have till February 1, 2026 to provide the notice to all current employees. And again, remember, when you hire a new employee, you'll give it to them, and then you'll do all current employees annually. I recommend that you just do it on January 1 going forward after this initial date of February 1, 2026. Want to make sure that you do that on an annual basis. So it's probably a good idea to just put that on your tickler and have you do that at the beginning of each year. So the first part of this law is that you are required to provide this template notice, and it's going to talk about a lot of different things: workers' compensation insurance, various health and safety issues, talks about wage theft, union rights, some immigration protections. It does not replace the 2810.5 notice that you have to provide to your non-exempt employees as well. That's your Wage Theft Prevention Act notice. There is another part of the law which requires by March 30th, 2026, that you allow your employees to designate an emergency contact. Now, some of you probably have emergency contact information already for your employees, but the purpose of this emergency contact requirement is that you all need to be sure you know who to contact if your employee is arrested on premises, taken away by ICE, etc. So the sort of creation of this requirement came from the concern that folks are being arrested without notice due to this immigration sweep, and the employer needs to know who to contact, and also whether it is okay to give that emergency contact the employee's paycheck, because that becomes a very important issue for folks who are going through these events, of course, to be able to get their pay for their family so that the family has the resources they need. So SB 294 has two components. One is this written notice that you have to provide. We will get a template of that hopefully by the end of the year, certainly hopefully by mid-January, because you do have to provide that on February 1. And then you have to implement the emergency contact provision. You can do it all in one document if that's what you want to do, but either way, you've got to get that information. Now, if you don't comply with SB 294, you can face civil penalties of up to $500 per employee for each violation. So you have 500 employees, that's going to be a chunk of change, and up to $10,000 per employee for certain violations that are considered to be highly problematic, right? For example, you don't notify the emergency contact when you should, when the employee's been arrested or the employee's ill, something of the sort. Also remember that employees, the labor commissioner, and what they call public prosecutors can recover penalties. That comes under potentially the PAGA statute we have here in California, PAGA, the Private Attorneys General Act. So what I want you to think about as you're preparing for January 1 and the new year, I want you to think about how you're going to distribute the notice, how you're going to make sure that the notice is provided to all your new employees. Get it on your tickler for the new year to make sure you've got that happening. And then also to be watching for the template notice that the labor commissioner will be providing. Of course, we'll blog on that as soon as it comes down. But at this point, don't spend the time creating your own notice. Just wait for the template to come down, and then you can take it from there and make sure that you have it all organized with your logo and all the information that you want to have. Okay, so again, this is called the Workplace Know Your Rights Act. So when you're looking at articles or you're looking at other pieces of information that may come to your attention, I want you to know what this is. So it's SB 294, and you definitely want to be ready for it. Okay, so everybody, in addition to the new notice under SB 294, you know that California employers have a number of obligations when it comes to posting things in the workplace and also giving certain notices to employees. Remember, if you have employees who work remotely, you are not relieved of your obligation to provide those notices and posters. You still have to make them available. So I want to just run down quickly for you a couple of different notices that you may not be aware of, particularly if you are using an all-in-one service where you purchase a sort of all-in-one poster that you fill in for your workplace. The first one is required by Labor Code Section 90.2. This is related to immigration. It's part of Assembly Bill 450, which came out a couple of years ago. It must be posted when you are notified by ICE or the United States Customs and Immigration Services of a need for an I-9 employment eligibility verification form audit, right? And you have to post that within 72 hours of receiving a notice of inspection. Another one that's a little bit obscure that you may not be aware of is you have to post the applicable wage order or wage orders for your workplace. Now, if you don't know which one applies, no problem. There is a document available on the Labor Commissioner's website, which is called Which IWC Order. The IWC, remember, stands for Industrial Welfare Commission. That document will also help you go through and figure out which wage orders are going to apply to you. And it may just be, for many of us, it's just one, like an office environment is wage order 4. That's going to be pretty simple. But if you have, for example, if you are harvesting wine, you're manufacturing wine on site, and then you are transporting wine, you may have several different wage orders that do apply to you. And the other thing that I think is important for you to remember is that these posters are sometimes updated during the year. So if you do have one of those all-in-one poster services, you can certainly use them to keep you up to date. But if you do not belong to one of those services, you're going to have to go to the Labor Commissioner's website, and they give you a list of all of the posters and notices. You can get them from the Labor Commissioner, or you can download them from other websites. Frankly, it's worth the money, in my opinion, to go ahead and just buy the all-in-one so that you've got it. It's ready to roll. You can post it. You fill it out with your workers' comp information and other things you need to post, and you've got that handled. So everyone, here's what I want to leave you with here today. We have a lot of obligations for the new year, and I know we're also trying to get ready for family celebrations and all kinds of things that are going on. I have really found that organization is the only way I can reduce my anxiety when it comes to these sorts of compliance things. I have to have everything prepared. I've got to have everything organized. So it's worth taking a couple of days this month. I know we're busy. I know there's a lot going on. But let's take a couple of days. Let's figure out exactly what you need to be doing for 2026. Come up with an action plan for how you're going to get it done, what steps you're going to take, who's going to be responsible in the organization for making it happen. I know for many of you, there's only one of you, right? in your organization that's responsible for all this. So it falls on you by yourself. And I know that can be overwhelming, but I got to tell you, in a way, it's also kind of comforting. You know that if you've got a list of things, you're going to do them all and it's going to happen, right? So use SB 294's new requirements as a little impetus to check in, make sure you have your house in order, make sure you've got the right notices, the right posters, you're sending them to your remote employees. These are the kinds of things that are really low-hanging fruit, all right? You can get in trouble for not doing them, but there's no reason to not do them, right? We just have to get organized, create a checklist or whatever you do to keep you on top of things and make this happen, all right? I want to thank all of you for joining us here today. Have a wonderful day. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you next week. Before we sign off, I want to remind you about our 25th annual legal update. We have 3 sessions. I want to make sure that you sign up for them before they fill up. We're going to talk about all the new statutes for 2026 and all the relevant court decisions, as well as any other agency developments. So go to our website, sign up, space is limited. Workplace Wake Up, including our guests and hosts, do not provide legal advice in this podcast. Do not act upon any of the information discussed in this podcast without first consulting a licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Workplace Wake Up. If you found today's discussion helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your HR and leadership teams. For more insights, training programs, and legal updates, you can visit us at shawlawgroup.com.